Sweetie, sweetie, sweetie darling. Ta-da! Hey lovelies, how are you? Okay, so last night I was blessed with the opportunity to go and see an advanced screening of AbFab the movie. Yay! Woo! It's hot under that hat. It's a great hat, isn't it? I'd like to thank Sean Prue and Sean Prue Media for this. Sirius XM channel 167. Yeah, this is kind of nice. So, let's talk. First of all, I hope I don't have a line on my forehead from having the hat on. Oh, you know, that's always what stopped me from wearing hats. I have hypersensitive skin, so like the moment I have a hat on for like 5 minutes, I get like this like red band that like stays there for hours. Okay. So last night, like I said, I went to see AbFab the movie with the amazing Jennifer Saunders and Joanna Lumley, as well as all the other side characters that we expected to see. Bubbles, Gran, the rude nurse. I love her so much. Nobody cares if you live or die. That was like something me and my friends used to say all the time, just randomly. So I have to say, first of all, it was absolutely worth the wait. 110%. Jennifer Saunders, I bow down to thee. I feel, though, what would have made the movie better is, so in the trailer, she kills Kate Moss. However, pictures leaked of Kate Moss coming out of the Thames? I don't know. I'm not from there. They leaked of her coming out, and they show it in the trailer as well, and so you know that she survives. That would have been such a great thing to sort of like not know. It would have made it so much better, but you already knew she survived, so yeah. I will say that there were a couple of things that I thought a little distasteful with regards to trans. Now, we all know the backstory of Patsy. We know that she used to be a man, and now she's she, and that's the backstory. They showed it in the Morocco episode where they were smoking the hookah, and they did it so well in the TV show. They really like made it a non-issue. Do you know what I mean? And the funny thing was, in this movie, it seemed like the trans thing was the butt of the jokes, and it seemed mildly transphobic. I mean, the very last part of it, by the way, the very last part of the movie is completely ripped off from a Jack Lemmon movie. It's, I want to say it's Some Like It Hot. That's it, Some Like It Hot. Where at the end, Jack Lemmon says to the guy, as they're driving off into the sunset, you know, I'm not a woman, and the guy says, well, nobody's perfect. So this one here at the end, you know, Joanna Lumley's character Patsy lets out that she used to be born a male, and then the person that she's with is like, well, that's okay, darling, because I'm not a woman anyway. And so you just are sort of like, okay, it was cute. And then Edwina says, you're going to have to dance with her shim. As a trans woman, I thought all of the other jokes were kind of good. Like I said, the fact that trans was the butt of it kind of sucked. But that one last line, being transgender and having someone call me a shim, is really offensive. And it's really very hurtful. And I've had it happen on numerous occasions. I mean, not as of late, but it has happened in my past. And so I feel as though the problem with that terminology is that it could actually teach heteronormative people that that's an okay way to refer to a trans person. With this being, you know, I'm sure that it's not just going to be gay people going to see this movie who actually should know better than to say that. It's going to be a lot of heteronormative couples, and that's my fear. My fear is that using that phrasing will, I'm so very sorry, using that phrasing will unfortunately teach other people that that's okay to use. I feel like AbFab, the TV show, was so at the forefront of all the GLBT stuff, and they did it with such, I feel like actually it's a British thing. I feel like they broach things just so matter-of-factly, and it's not an issue anymore. But with this movie, yeah. I do wish, I gotta say this. Cheers, darling. Ooh, it's a wild turkey right there. I do wish that Gren was in it longer, because actually she was one of my favorite characters ever to show up in the show. That episode where she puts the condoms on her hand and she's like, she's like, get away from there, woman, get away from there. And she's like, that's all right, there's something wrong with your gloves. And it's because there's condoms on her hand. And I just thought that was brilliant. And the way she played it off was just, brilliant. It was absolutely 110% worth the wait to see this movie. Seeing everybody in it, Stella McCartney, Kate Moss, Emma Bunton, a whole bunch of the original cast. Lulu is in it from the original show, and I really feel like that is the sort of defining characteristic of AbFab, that it had such a great legion of fans, and it wasn't just the normal fans like us, but the celebrities that got on the show. And I thought that it was just brilliant to see them come, because it was like an homage back to. I always hate when they update a movie or they update something and they don't show an homage back to. Like when I watched the new Nightmare on Elm Street, I understood that they were trying to step away from the Nightmare on Elm Street brand, but then don't use the Nightmare on Elm Street name without paying homage to Robert Englund, who was and is the only Freddy Krueger. I'm sorry. It's not like it could be Jason with a mask on. Like, this was a very recognizable face. And I always thought that in the new Nightmare on Elm Street, they should have shown a picture of Robert Englund somewhere. Like one of those that, what are Easter eggs, right? I thought they should have done something like that, and they didn't, and that really bothered me. I thought the movie as a whole was great, but yeah, that bothered me. And so I thought with AbFab, it was like reliving my childhood, because I was seeing all of these old characters that I remembered being on the show. I remembered Emma Bunton when she was on the show. I remembered Lulu, where Edwina's like, Lulu, Lulu, darling, Lulu. I remembered all of those things, and it all came flooding back. And then, the piece de resistance, by the way, was Jane Horak, who plays Bubbles. Now, a lot of people aren't aware of this, but Bubbles, Jane Horak, not Bubbles, Jane Horak, it's so funny because that's who she is to me. Jane Horak did a movie called Little Voice with Ewan McGregor, and it is by far one of my all-time favorite movies. So the story goes that Jane Horak was in her dressing room and someone had heard her singing, and this is what I heard online, so I very well could be wrong, but this is the story that I've read. Someone heard her singing and they didn't believe that it was her, and then they actually wrote this movie around her. So in the movie Little Voice, that's actually Jane Horak singing, and she sings one of the songs from that movie in AbFab, and I was like, oh my God, I was in heaven. I was like, oh my God! Because she's got such an incredible voice. If you haven't seen Little Voice, you need to go see it, or you need to rent it. Sorry, you can't go see it anymore. It's a little older, it's a little dated, but it's so, so good. And it's great because it's one of those movies where, even though this was around the time of AbFab fame still being what it was, Jane Horak was Jane Horak in it. She wasn't Bubbles. And that's what made it so cool to go see. Because sometimes you go see a movie because you see the character or the person doing something, and you're like, oh, maybe they'll act like that in this, right? Like Michael Cera. Michael Cera is always Michael Cera. But like Jane Horak, watching Little Voice, it was just such a departure from Bubbles that it was just so, so brilliant to watch. So I thought it was brilliant. Brilliant. I thought it was really, really, really well put together. Like I said, aside from the small transphobic blips here and there, it's definitely worth a watch. If you were a fan of the TV show, you will definitely be a fan of this movie. I guarantee you, it's like 2 thumbs, like so far up that I don't even have thumbs anymore. Like that's how much I want you to go see this movie. It opens nationwide on July 22nd, which will have been a couple of days before this video is posted on Monday. I thank you all so very much for tuning in. As always, it means the world to me. Yeah, go see it. Go see them. Sweetie darling, sweetie darling, sweetie darling. Mama. get mama coffee, sweetie darling. Sorry, I turned into such an idiot when it comes to AbFab. I love that show so much. And also, AbFab is available on iTunes, and you can buy it at your local Best Buy. There's box sets available of the show. I think it's relatively inexpensive. It's about $100 for the entire series, plus a bunch of new extra stuff. But yeah, it was a great movie, and I thank you, Sean Prue and Sean Prue Media with Sirius XM Channel 167. Thank you. I really appreciate it. As always, please never, ever, ever forget to comment, share, and subscribe. I will catch you on the flip side. Bye.